We teach girls shouldn't want sex, but they're still engaging in sex. And then you wake up the next day and like, I regret, I feel used. This thing of like boys using girls for sex, like I hate it so much because I think if you're going to engage in having sex with another human being, you should also be wanting it.
And if you're finding that you're getting together with guys and they're having a good time and they're getting off, but you don't feel satisfied, well then take that responsibility to say, you know what? I will definitely make you satisfied. And first, you are going to satisfy me, so get to work, young man.
Hallelujah.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Interracial Couple Podcast, where it's not all black and white.
My name is Sarah. I'm black.
I'm Matthew. I'm white. And today we are talking about
Sarah being grumpy.
the most exciting topic we could find. That's what we're going to start with, though we worked through some grumpiness. We had a TikTok live this morning where a teenage girl showed up and asked a lot of questions about connection and what boys want and why does it seem like they just want to get laid, and also how that shifts as boys grow into men. So we will start the show today really going into, some of the way that as couples we're not necessarily always on our game or not bringing our best selves forwards, what we do, what some of our methods are and some of our systems that we can use to weather those storms, and how a teenage girl's questions helped bring some focus and give us the opportunity to be of service this morning.
Yeah.
So, Sarah's grumpy.
I don't necessarily want to call, I've been grumpy, but I've also been sad.
Okay.
So, and I think I'm grumpy because I'm sad. So, when is today? Tuesday. I've actually been grumpy for a couple of days, which is sad for you. But I think, let me go back to when it started. So this weekend was our anniversary.
Woo! And we had a really, really lovely one.
We did.
Saturday, we drove up the coast, up to Gualala in Mendocino County. We ate at one of the very few tables that was available to be eaten at on the entire Northern California coast. It was beautiful.
It was so beautiful. They had they were serving only 5 tables outside overlooking the ocean, and it was really amazing. And then I had a few cocktails.
And a couple glasses of wine.
And on Sunday, I had a hangover, I guess.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to get out of the hangover so that was Sunday. Monday, today is Tuesday as we're recording this. And I think part of what, alcohol kicks in me is some part of my emotion that I'm working with. And I think I've just been waking up thinking what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my business? And just questioning everything that I'm doing, what am I going to do after the pandemic? I don't know. There's just so many questions that are going in my mind that no matter how much I'm trying to get myself out of this grumpiness is not working. And it guaranteed, it's only been 2 days. But at my age right now, it's I know when I'm starting to get sad, there are a few things I can do that make me even more sadder. And one of those things is to continue drinking. So, I was just when I feel like that, because sometimes to me, alcohol can be fun.
Yeah, that's generally why either you drink it to be fun or to forget your problems. Unfortunately,
correct. And then sometimes it actually activates the sadness. So I have to be really careful about how I drink and when I drink, because some days it's I drink, I have a hangover, and I'm done, and it was a fun weekend. And some other times is I drink, have a hangover, and then sadness kicks in. And part of that was just being okay, I'm not gonna drink for a while until and this is a part of it is this is that moment. So since then, I feel I've been working out. I worked out really hard. When was it? Yesterday. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, I feel sad. I don't want to be sad. So I am going to journal. I journaled, and halfway through it, I was like, okay, I put my thoughts down. I was still sad after I was done. I read a business book that was kind of like, self-development, motivational. Finished that. And I was like, okay, I still feel sad. And I was like, can we go do yoga? So like I was like trying to do everything that I can to get myself out of that sadness. And we did yoga for 20 minutes, and it felt really nice to stretch. But I was still sad afterwards. And then I was like, I'm going to shower. Because showering, as we know, kind of for me, it always helps. But anyway, so to say that is just like, yeah, there's some tactics like I've learned along the way how to get myself out of sadness, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to, like when we started this podcast, I was like, I'm going to be real. And I was like, I am not doing a podcast that I'm going to talk about anything else before admitting and acknowledging that the last 2 days, I've just not been feeling like myself, and even after doing all those things, even like right before we recorded, we went on a walk to still help me feel like I can sit down and record this podcast. And it did help to like breathe in some fresh air. But I think I'm going to be done and I'm going to go take a nap and just, feel my sadness, because I just think like I just have to get through it. And then there was a moment this morning where we made our coffee. Anyway, before I go into that, like how has it been for you as my partner to have this fun weekend where we went out and celebrated our anniversary, and then come Sunday is like, I am just really sad.
Yeah.
How has that been for you?
There's the personal side of that, and then there's also things that I feel like I've been sort of socialized to deal with. One of those socialized things is I need to fix the problem. So if you're grumpy or you're having a bad mood, you're in a bad mood, I need to fix it. And so being like, you know what, this is your thing. That's not mine. So I don't have to fix it. There's nothing to be done. And then also kind of more personal though is I can just show up, and I can also give a little bit extra. And that there's no debt or nothing you owe for that, or no obligation on my side to provide it. It's really just, I'm going to let this be. And I think one of the things that when one partner is in a grumpy mood, there's even more of the sense of an incompletion. At the end of the day, you go to bed and we're not, the issues of the day weren't tied up and completed. And that to me is actually a challenge. I want things to be wrapped up. I want them to be completed. I want them to be fixed. I want them to be okay. I want to have said everything. I want you to know how it was for me. And ultimately, some of those things might still be true, but it doesn't have to be immediate. And so, yesterday, the day before, even today is, there's no need to even bring it up. There's no need to discuss it at this point. Because I know in a day or two, when you're kind of out of it, we can. And even on our walk today, as we were going through and to let it go a little bit, was there's a space, and we could kind of joke about it a little bit, but I had nothing to prove. As soon as if I was going to try and prove something or make you acknowledge, make you acknowledge that, the way it's been for me or whatever, that would be totally inappropriate right now. And I say this also with a certain caveat in that we have a real openness in our ability to speak to each other. And therefore, it's not like this thing that, I can't speak. And if I bring it up, by the time I bring it up, I will have been holding it in for a long time. And now it's going to explode and I'm not going to be fully authentic with myself. Instead, it's like, you know what? I can just let you go through what you're going through, and I can show up, and I can even have a little bit of humor about it. And so it hasn't been a struggle. Earlier on in our relationship, and certainly earlier in my life and relationship, I don't know if I could have said that, right? That would have been, those things would be really hard. Like, why are you snapping at me, 5 minutes after I made you breakfast or whatever? That would have been really, really hard for me. And now I can be light about it. I can joke about it because it's not part of our pattern. You know, having a bad day is not a pattern. It's a part of life. So therefore, how I react to a bad day or a bad 2.5 days or whatever, that's not feeding into a negative pattern cycle of me bottling up my feelings or emotions. Totally different thing. So it's been kind of fine. And sometimes, even on Sunday, you were lying in bed and you were watching Netflix or whatever you were doing.
I was watching a terrible show. I was like, why am I...
Did you see? Do not. She was worried I was going to tell you what she was watching on television.
Someone asked me yesterday, I was like, I just wasted my day on Sunday watching silly I usually don't watch television, and so when I watch, I'm careful about what I'm watching. But this show was just let's just say it's in the same class as what is it called? The Bachelorette?
Well, The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, yeah.
It's literally...
In that ballpark?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's so bad you don't want to say what it's called, so that's fine. So I was not gonna call you out.
Don't call me out.
You called yourself out. I did not. But I also knew that it was a challenging day for you. You had had a lot to drink. We had a great evening. We had a great day the day before. So there's no reason for me to make that mean anything. And it was a big, our anniversary. We talked about really, our commitment to each other. It was really beautiful. There was some real vulnerability in the day, new commitments that were vulnerable. And therefore, I easily could have been actually, let me back up and tell the total truth on this. I did feel for a few minutes was I too vulnerable? Was I offering too much? That was kind of this feeling of am I making a mistake? In our deepening of our commitment, is that going to come back to haunt me? Those thoughts definitely crossed my mind. But I was like, okay, thank you very much.
Thoughts?
Scared thought or whatever. Thank you for, examining where I'm at, and now you may go, because this is not part of my life, is not part of our lives anymore. I don't need to be concerned about the deepening of our commitment somehow, making our, whatever that stuff is, making our lives more difficult or whatever. So, yeah, it was also kind of nice to say, you have your day. And you spent that day pretty much in bed, and I spent not that much time making you breakfast and dinner and whatever else you needed and bringing you coffee a couple times. And then I got to have a day that was kind of for me. I did some work on a Sunday. I felt fairly accomplished on my day. I was the designated driver, so I got to have a couple of drinks, but not to the point of having a hangover the next day. So... it's really in the relationship.
It's kind of funny because I remember you saying I'm going to go right on Sunday and have a whiskey. And I was like, oh my God, can't imagine how someone would drink alcohol. Anyway.
And so this morning we got up, we kind of went through our things.
But I do want to acknowledge you before we go on, that I really want to acknowledge you that you did not take it personal, that we had such a beautiful anniversary, and then the next day, I was sad, because I think for some people they could be is it you don't want to be with me? Is it the anniversary that's bringing sadness? There's a lot of story you could have taken with how I was feeling.
Oh, and I wanted to take story, for sure. I wanted to. We talked about dowry, I should say. So there were these things that were kind of big, and I did want to take it personally. And yesterday I also wanted to take it personally. I did, but I also didn't. And at this point, I'm fortunate that I know better. And I can say that my knowing better and my trust in this process is not something that I always had or that came easily. It's that it actually it was effort to get to this place. And sometimes I know, particularly when I was younger, and I would look at somebody handling a situation or an emotional situation really well and think, oh, that would have made me feel worse about myself in the past. Why can't I be like that? Or why can't I do it as well as they can, or whatever? And that doesn't happen so much anymore, in part because I know that that everything that works well in my life for the most part, actually took effort to get it to work well.
Yeah.
And it took, it took studying. It took the fact that, we journal individually and we do the lover's journal together. We read books, we do things to really engage in the hard questions. And so in the same way that you don't get to be a surgeon by watching Grey's Anatomy, you don't get to be you don't get to be great in a relationship by, watching sweet movies.
Yeah.
The relationship gets good by studying. You become a great surgeon because you show up every day and you practice and you learn new things. And I think in a relationship, very often people will think, well, I know how to do it. I fell in love when I was a teenager, and so I know what love is, and so therefore I can do it. Or I've been in a relationship for X numbers of years, or had this many boyfriends or girlfriends, therefore I should know how to do it. And I think that's just a big fallacy. The reality is we have no idea how to do it. And in fact, because we think we know how to do it and we don't, we end up getting ourselves into bigger trouble. So that's a kind of a long roundabout way of saying that where I feel that we've gotten to in this has come from engaged work and study and showing up for almost like an exam and bombing a few of them, only to have to say, you know what, I'm going to get up and start it and study again and come back and try and, get a better grade the next time.